Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, I'm doing something a little different. I don't have a deck for you tonight. Still kind of in a little bit of a creative slump, but I'm also really focused on some future stuff that's going on. So hopefully this weekend I'll get back to uploading deck lists. But for today, I wanted to go over the new rules that are being implemented that, as of this video, have already been implemented starting January 1st. New changes to the game as we know it, our beloved Universus. Not a lot of changes, but some of them are pretty meaningful, and I just wanted to kind of go over them and give them my thoughts, as I've seen like a lot of other creators do, so let's get into it. First off, they're changing the minimum deck size, and we're going to go over each of these one by one, including the multiple one at the end. But just a quick summary, they're changing the minimum deck size from 50 to 60. So that's, I mean, anyone who knows me knows my decks scale to about 60 anyway, usually. That's just how it was before MHA only, and that's, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, so I never got really good at scaling my decks down to 50, so I'm fine with this change. I really like it. I think it allows you to open up for more creative plays, because you can fit a few more counters or just extra tech pieces into your deck proper without having to find room for them in your sideboard. Next, we've got zone publicity changes. So these are kind of interesting but really cool. Basically for this, it changes the face down cards in your card pool and your momentum from unknown zones to private zones, I believe is how they call it. Real quick. Yeah. So basically, you're allowed to look at the face down cards in your card pool now, as well as your face down momentum. So obviously this changes how a couple of cards work, and I'll go over a few of the people who deal with these changes here in a little bit. But it's really cool because now you don't have to worry about blind picking up or blind discarding momentum if there's certain ones you want to get on top of your deck or in the top of your discard pile, and you can't see them. It does invalidate a few cards, which I can also go over. Mainly like two that I can think of off the top of my head, but I can look them up as we're going. But honestly, I think these changes are pretty cool, and they just make the game a lot smoother so that you can just really focus on the strategy of what you're trying to do. So if you're like Mina 2 trying to flood your card pool with face down cards, and you play certain cards that could pick those cards up, you want to know what you're getting. And I think that this makes it a lot easier to play some of these more niche, gimmicky characters and give them a lot more legs. But again, we're going to go over those in a little bit. Next is identity and titles. So normally when you have multiple character cards of the same character, they'll be identified with like a Roman numeral. Way back in the day, they had different little symbols next to them, either dots or a symbol denoting the IP that they were associated with. Moving forward, you're going to have your character name, which is going to be the identity, and then a title instead of like a Roman numeral. So whereas All Might has All Might 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if they redid all of those now, they would all be All Might, but with a different title. Like All Might 4 would probably still be All Might True Form, and All Might would be the identity, the title would be True Form. From what I can tell, identity is still what you're looking for in terms of stacking for retro. If you were to stack multiple characters of the same name but different identities, this is how you would focus on it as opposed to the Roman numerals or stuff like that. So, like here, you have your All Might Enhance on Detroit Smash. Any character with the identity All Might can play this, but the title or a version number, All Might Symbol of Peace, as it suggests might be down here, or All Might True Form, they're different titles, but they're all the same character, they're the same identity. So that's kind of going to be a big change going forward. From what I can tell, it's mostly like a flavor thing, and honestly, I'm okay with it. I think this is kind of cool, where you can, instead of just, All Might 1, All Might 2, All Might 3, it's All Might, Symbol of Peace, or All Might, True Form, or Fae, Queen of Hearts. You know, just I think it's really cool, and it really gives more flavor to the identity. I don't really know a better way to say it than that, but I think it's a really neat change. This is an interesting one, designating successful attacks, or attacks that dealt damage. I guess this is kind of just codifying this into the rules, even though it's a common thing. When your attack deals damage, turn it sideways in your card pool to denote that it dealt damage. So instead of at the end of your turn, you're clearing your card pool, going, okay, did this do damage? Did this do damage? Did you fully block this one? Any attack that dealt damage, you turn it sideways, or just kind of tilt it however you can to just make sure it looks different, so you know that's one that dealt damage. A lot of people already do this, but now they're actually putting it in the rules just to, again, streamline things, make it easier, especially for newer players who may not have a total grasp on how to keep track of all of this stuff when they're still trying to learn all the rest of the aspects of the game. And lastly, we have the change to multiple. Now, I had to reread this one for a second, because it said it is mostly important in the retro format, not only important for the retro format. Now, that could be another one of their, to be determined. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But yeah, multiple was a mechanic where you would have a rating like X, so you would have like multiple 1, multiple 2, kind of like powerful in EX, but for each, and you would have to discard the momentum for them, but instead of, what used to be was, you would discard the momentum, and then, as your cost, then the cards you discarded would move from your discard pile face down into your card pool as copies of the attack that you played the multiple rating of. And then, as soon as that attack was blocked, not blocked, resolves through the damage step, you immediately go into the next attack, the first copy. And you don't have to worry about a check, you just go straight into the responses and the enhanced steps and all of that goodness, and then when that one resolves, you move right into the next one. How they changed it, because there were a lot of niche ways to deal with multiple, like to stop cards from leaving your discard pile. Now, you discard your momentum as your cost. Minimum 1, maximum is your multiple rating, so if your multiple rating's 3, you can choose only to discard 1 momentum. You add X cards from the top of your deck to your card pool face down as multiple copies, and add those attacks to the attack stack. So, instead of discarding your momentum, and then after they've hit the discard pile, then moving them from the discard pile to the card pool, you just discard the momentum, and then you add the top card of your deck to the card pool for each copy of the momentum, or each copy of the multiple. It really cleans it up. Multiple was kind of the more one of the more confusing abilities in pre-MHA Universus, especially to teach new players of what attack stacks mean, when you block, if you have responses such as a reversal card, which throws a whole nother wrench in the mix, and we won't even go over what reversal is right now, because we don't have to worry about it right now. But really it just goes with the sequencing of the turn, and multiple was always kind of tricky to explain to newer players, especially if they did get caught by some of those traps that say, cards cannot leave the discard pile. Well, that means you don't get your multiple copies because of this one card. And now it seems that they've really worked around those, and they're trying to make multiple a little easier. Maybe because they're bringing it back, who knows? We can only wait and see. But those are the main, those are all of the rules changes that started January 1st of this year, so these are already in place. I know I'm a little bit late for this video, but I've had a lot going on with holidays and stuff like that. So let's talk about some cards that these changes deal with. Let's go over to Ultra here. So mainly these are going to be for the zone publicity changes, and I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, mainly zone publicity changes, because that's the main thing you're going to see with the cards. So you've got characters like Mr. Compress, who says, as a form, lose a health, reveal 1 momentum. If it is not a copy of a card you've played this turn, you may play it as your next form. This is good because you no longer have to blindly pick, just random momentum that you may have generated. Be like, let's see if this is a copy of something I can play, or I want to play another attack. Oh crap, I forgot my sequencing and picked a foundation instead. Now you get to look, and you get to sculpt and basically use your momentum as a second hand. There was a character in old Yu Yu Hakusho that could do something similar to this, Hiei, who was a badass, and I loved him. And I loved just the ability to have that second hand, because you could store things in your momentum as Hiei and just run with it. But Hiei actually had a static effect that said you were allowed to look at your momentum. And Compress obviously doesn't have that static, but now with this rule change, the static doesn't matter, and you just get to pick and choose what cards you get to play. Another person who gets a boost from this would be All For One, because you're obviously storing cards in your momentum. You can pick up any card from your momentum to your hand at the start of any combat phase, and if you forgot what order you kept your momentum in, doesn't matter, because now you can look at it. Also, Pixie Bob, because Pixie Bob can store foundations into her momentum, and on some symbols like the Earth symbol, you can build attacks into your stage with cards like Manly Friendship, or a lot of Overhauls kit. So being able to take an attack into your momentum using Pixie Bob's ability that you'd built into a foundation, you could have ways to pick those those attacks up out of your momentum. And that's another thing with Himiko Toga. If you're not putting attacks in your momentum that would go face up, this helps you keep track of what cards are in your momentum that you're putting in either from your attack dealing damage or from Toga's ability, and you can manipulate those as you will. For non-momentum characters, Selkie, with his response, can put 2 cards from the top of your deck into your momentum, but he also says, while it's committed, face-down cards in your card pool don't count towards progressive difficulty. So if you're trying to generate a lot of momentum or generate a lot of face-down cards in your card pool, you're now allowed to look at all of those cards in case you have other cards that interact with them. And I already mentioned Mina Ashido too. She says cards in your card pool that are face down don't count towards progressive difficulty, and she wants to have a lot of them. So now that you're able to look at them, you have cards that interact with them like Acid Corrosion Breach. This says, add the top card of your deck to your card pool face down. This says you can look at the face down cards in your card pool and you may add one of them to your hand. But if you had other cards that could add face down cards in your card pool to your hand, you could make sure you pick the right one and you don't have to guess anymore. We also have cards like Ambush Thrust or Muscle Mauler that allow you to pick up cards from your momentum to your hand. So with Muscle Mauler and Ambush Thrust now, it's no longer a guessing game, and you don't have to do this wild math of memory games trying to figure out what momentum went where. You can just look, and it takes a lot less time and a lot less brain power. And then we've got cards like Ultimate Combination, which says you get to build all foundations discarded to pay the cost of this card's powerful ability, which is great unless you start pitching attacks by accident because you forgot where the foundations in your momentum were. And while you could obviously manage this by only putting excuse me. While you could manage this by only putting foundations in your momentum, a la someone like Pixie Bob, obviously you're going to want attacks in your momentum too for the extra powerful +4. But this way, if you're not wanting to go whole hog and just dump all of your momentum, you can pick and choose which ones, and you can pick and choose the right ones. Then we also got cards like Breakdancing, which has the Student Enhanced flip, discard 1 face-down card from your card pool, and once per turn you can add the top card of your deck to your card pool face down, and this attack gets +2 or -2 speed. So again, putting face-down cards in your card pool, and making sure you can pick up or interact with the correct cards that you wanted to interact with. And Shadow's Aid, of course, commit, add 1 card from your momentum to your hand, your rival may ready a foundation, and it's just making sure you pick the right one. There were some cards, Momentum, My Hero, Chaos Foundation. There were 2 other cards that I believe this invalidates. Let me scroll through here a little bit. yeah, one here is Mastermind Revealed. Flip, and as an enhanced flip, look at either player's momentum. I guess now this is only flip, look at your opponent's momentum, because you don't have to look at your own momentum with an effect anymore, you're just allowed to do it. So that kind of makes that card a little bit useless. And then we have Wealthy Aspirations. Remove, look at your momentum, turn one of them face up. I guess this doesn't quite invalidate it, because you can still turn a momentum face up, but if you were mainly doing it to look at your momentum, you don't have to worry about looking at it anymore. This is basically just enhance, remove, unflip one momentum. But on the short notice that I gave myself to make this video, I think that's about all I have to say on the new rules changes. I like them. I think these are good changes. I really enjoy the flavor of identity and titles. I think the zone publicity change for card pull and momentum really smooths out a lot of wrinkles in the game. The designating successful attacks, that's kind of what people normally do anyway, just for their own bookkeeping. So to turn it into a rule just helps smooth things over. Excuse me. I'm cool with the minimum deck size increase, because now I play at a minimum, as opposed to 10 over minimum, so I don't know, maybe now I'll do better a little bit. And multiple ability functional update I'm okay with. I'm just worried that, of course, we might get multiple into standard with Yu Yu Hakusho, and I remember what a nightmare multiple could be. Personally, I like Echo a little bit better. I think it's a lot easier to deal with. I think it's a lot easier to teach people, and you don't have a lot of different little mini rules that come with the ability. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you like these changes? Do you think there should be more changes? Do you think these changes could have been dealt differently? Just let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.